We'll move on to David. How you doing?
Hey guys, how's it going?
All right.
Matt and Martin. I like it when you guys are on here. Martin is really smart, almost as smart as Matt.
Oh, please. Martin's way smarter.
Well,
I'm just kidding about
We're
that.
both smarter than all the callers, though. I mean, that it has to be true.
Well,
I'm not smart enough to figure that
callers.
statement out, though. Let me think.
I know you got a lot of callers, so I'm going to try to be quick on you today here, though I probably will fail.
Just
A couple of months ago, Matt, you and I had an argument where you kept, and we even got a little heated, which I feel so bad about.
I don't.
I know
I don't
you
bear
don't.
any ill will. I mean, there's no hard feelings. Sometimes arguments get heated. We're talking about important
that's what
subjects.
happens, yes. Well, you know, one of the things that happens with this show is we just don't have time to go into everything deeply and to understand that the other person may not always be talking about what you think they are.
Yeah.
And that's what happened last time because you kept saying, well, you're arguing Zeno's paradox, and it's I don't believe in it. And I kept trying, that's not what I'm arguing. So today I wanted to show you quickly how to debunk anyone who does call in with Zeno's paradox because of, it has been debunked.
Well,
now, of course,
I'm curious as to what you actually. First of all, I don't know that I ever said that I don't believe in Zeno's paradox. It's not the paradox. When we present a paradox, it's a logical contradiction, and somewhere it usually means that there's a fallacy in there, or at least something that's beyond our
Well, I
understanding.
can tell you close to exactly what you said.
Oh, well,
You said, well, you're using the argument of Zeno's paradox, and I've had people use that argument on me, and they've never made their case, and I just don't transcribe
the point wasn't that I don't necessarily accept that a paradox exists. The point there, as long as we're going for clarity, is that you cannot use a paradox to justify your position. There's a whole reason why we've coined the term paradox to describe something. It can't be the basis of a proof like that because there's an inherent contradiction.
I agree wholeheartedly, especially when it's untrue from the beginning.
Okay.
The reason why it's a paradox, of course, is because that he was trying to tell us that there's an infinity between point A and point B, and we all make it from point A to point B 1,000 times a day. In a little while, y'all are going to Threadgill's. You're actually going to make it.
Yeah.
You're going to eat, then you're going to go home again. You're actually going to make it.
unless that asteroid hits.
That's why it's a paradox. We already know
Right.
that it can't be true. And we therefore walk away saying, okay, mathematics is impure then. But it's not. It was the fact that Zeno, his premise was wrong from the get-go.
No, that's the difference. The problem is that you're trying to overlay a mathematical principle, which is a construct, onto reality. Yes, we all know that between these 2 points, there are an infinite number of identifiable spots because we can continue to divide by half, for example, as one of
By half,
Zeno's
and fourth,
paradoxes.
8th, 16th, 32nd, 64th.
Right.
Yeah.
We could keep doing that infinitely because the set of numbers is infinite, and there's no delineation. The reason that we
But
can
Matt,
do
you made a mistake.
the reason that we're not stuck in place by the paradox is that we're able to cross over finite measured spaces. It's not we're unable to actually physically in reality divide at the level that mathematics can because mathematics is necessarily infinite.
But he made a mistake in the way he applied it. That's the problem.
Okay, how so?
Okay, let me take you back to second grade math. Put little Davy on a train, okay? The train is going, or let's say the train is traveling from Austin to Houston, 165 miles. It's traveling at 55 miles per hour. So how many hours does it take Davy to get to Houston? It, of course, takes 3, okay, because, 55 miles
I got you.
3
times 55, got it.
Yeah, we're there.
Zeno only applies the distance and forgets that whenever you have a traveler, you must take speed into the equation.
You are now saying
is incorrect.
You're now saying exactly what I just said a minute ago.
Well, at least I'm saying it a lot simpler. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So anytime anybody looks at you and says, well, Zeno's paradox, all you have to do is go, wait a minute. Zeno forgot to apply speed. All he did was measure distance.
No, his point had nothing to do with speed. Speed was excluded on purpose in order to make the point. The point was about an infinite division or infinite regression. But none of that matters. What's the point, I guess? Because I think we already agree if that was your point.
That any person that comes along with Zeno's paradox, I was trying to show you well, here is a way to very quickly show them, look, it's been debunked.
Right.
I mean, you can Google it and read this 1,000 times in 1,000 different ways.
I'm sorry for butting in here.
No,
I missed the original.
Ahead,
I missed the original argument. So how is any of this applying to, say, questions about theism and what have you?
Yeah.
I guess that's our worry was the subject of the day. Just happened to be mathematical paradoxes and interesting brain puzzles.
Well, it doesn't necessarily. It's the fact that I waited all the way through 3 shows before to get to this and never did. So I took it as my opportunity to call in and get this information to Matt.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting topic. I was just wondering how it came up on the program, I guess.
At that time, we were trying to talk about infinities.
Oh, okay.
Right. But
like whether there really is one?
Or if infinity exists.
Right.
Or eternity exists. And unless time stops, of course it does. But you don't have to run. Nobody has to go running to Zeno's paradox every time the word infinity comes up. Was my point that day.
Actually, like the first caller, an infinity doesn't exist. Infinity is something that you can never reach, and while time may be infinite, the point is that you could never get to the end of it, and that's the demonstration of Zeno's paradox that shows that it is true. You've set a set distance and ignored infinite distance.
That's precisely what you did a couple of months ago.
Okay.
You kept going, okay, you take point A and point B, and I kept trying to tell you that day, wait a minute, we're talking about infinity, there's no point A. And then you kept going into Zeno's paradox.
Right, because you were saying, if I'm remembering correctly, and I'm probably not, that you couldn't get to now if time was infinite in regression. Is that what you were saying?
Correct, because there was no point.
You're wrong.
Well,
and you kept telling me I'm arguing Zeno's paradox.
Yeah,
when
you're
I was
wrong
telling you,
because
Zeno's
you're applying.
paradox is between point A and point B.
Right.
And I was telling you, in this case, there's no point A. However, there was another point I was making that day because your Wonder Twin was there.
Okay.
And see, one thing you have to understand about me, I'm not always taking the opposite side. Sometimes I'm trying to help you take your side.
Okay.
One thing that really helps when people come up with this stuff that matter cannot be eternal and only God can be eternal. First of all, this is not mutually exclusive. If somebody wants to say God is eternal and matter can't be eternal, well, of course they both can be. Who made a rule that they can't? Why can't matter be eternal? And I believe that both you and Tracy both agreed that matter could certainly be eternal.
I have no problem with with things existing eternally. I mean, the concept when we're talking about, for example, how the universe formed.
I know you said it exactly yourself. I told you I'm adding flame to your fire, not arguing with you.
I don't understand how we're getting anywhere.
I was trying
to
help you with some easier ways of clarifying some points.
Okay.
Gosh, now I feel like I'm useless.
No, I mean, originally when you'd called in about somewhere where we potentially disagree or something that supports your theistic views, and we got sidetracked onto abstract concepts that really aren't relevant until somebody tries to make them relevant. Now, while it's nice to get simpler explanations that somebody else might understand or might help somebody else understand better, I'm not sure that we've actually made progress there because your explanation, apart from being simpler and different, we're in agreement there. So where were we in disagreement before, and how does that relate to the case that you were making?
Before, when I called, I thought that you were trying to say that eternity can exist, in the past. But you just a moment ago said something different.
Well, first of all, the direction of approach is the problem. Trying to move backwards, and we can count backwards in time. I'm talking about as an abstract concept. There's nothing that necessarily makes us require a starting point, and in fact, a starting point is a violation of that.
I guess a real To me, the issue would be you can talk in mathematical abstracts about
Right.
eternity and infinity, all the live long day.
And put everybody to sleep.
But but in the interim, before we get on to the next guy, my question would be, how would you be able, say empirically, in the real world, to determine whether or not something had existed eternally into the past and was going to be continuing to exist eternally into the future? How would you have any sort of measurement of that?
I don't think we can.
And I don't know how you could do it. I mean, certainly, for example, in the case of the universe, we know that it is finite in terms of we can trace it back to a beginning, but you get back to this little hazy bit called Planck time where you can't get past that. You can get pretty close to the beginning, but the point is we simply don't know what was there before that time, and we cannot say, even if current concepts of time and laws of physics as we understand them even existed at that period. We can't even say if it is appropriate to talk about a time before the Big Bang, if time itself as we know it didn't exist, if there were other states. So ultimately I think that this is all just a whole bunch of chit-chatting about concepts, and while it's interesting, I don't know that it really gets us any farther to understanding of reality.
Well, what it ends up is I really wasted your time today by trying to tell you how not to waste time with people like me in the future.
That is beautiful.
Okay, well,
Cool.
hey, well, it was it was all very interesting, all the same.
Oh, I feel so bad now. I'm useless.
That's
No,
all
you're
right.
not. Just come up with an actual, support for your theistic position and call in with that.
Yeah, and
Okay.
we'll chat over that.
Yeah, and you can actually call back because there's probably going to be lines open here again shortly. I want to go ahead while we're waiting. There's somebody on. Actually,
Just talk to Jonathan.